everyone, and welcome to the Lausitzring. We are here for the second race weekend of the new season 2020. And are you ready for some serious action? Because we certainly are. As you can see, we still have no spectators. We're all wearing masks because, of course, safety comes first. But we're excited to be here because we are ready to be racing, and we're going to start with qualifying. And Mr. Cool, Nico Müller, is already sitting in the car. He's all strapped in because, of course, he's going to push really hard. He won the last two races, or rather the first races of the season in Spa. And now, yeah, everybody is eager to get the qualifying started. So let's do it. And now here's your commentator. Enjoy the qualifying.
Thanks very much, Verena. We've got the qualifying session almost about to get underway. It'll be for 20 minutes to set the grid for the first of the weekend's two races. And we've got pretty overcast conditions here at the Lausitzring. It's around about 23 degrees. It's very, very humid. It was yesterday as well. And at the end of the second free practice session, there was some lightning in the background in the distance. There was a little bit of rain as I drove to the hotel, which is about 35 minutes away in Dresden, but it never really materialised. And so it's still muggy, it's still humid, and there is a chance that there's going to be some rain later on today. A 47% chance of rain at some stage during the first race, or the build-up to the first race of the weekend this afternoon. My name's Chris Hartley. I'm going to be talking you through the qualifying and race sessions here at the Lausitzring this weekend. You saw the huge grandstand there in the background of Verena's shot, and you can just see it from the onboard camera there. The commentary box is perched right at the top of that. You have to get up an elevator 4 levels to get to the top of this one. So it gives you a fantastic view of the entire circuit and of the pit lane and the pit garages, which are opposite and underneath me. But sadly, as Verena said, still no fans allowed, although the plan is that is going to change for round 4 at Assen, where there's going to be a test of 10,000 fans per day. Team radio is a feature of the DTM coverage as ever, so we'll get to hear from the drivers and their engineers, get some insight into what is going on. Now, if you didn't follow the story yesterday during our coverage of the free practice sessions, just a few minutes before the first free practice session, a decision was announced affecting this man, René Rast, because he was the winner of race 2 at Spa on the road. But then when data was analysed in the week following the race, it was found out that René had pressed, whilst in the lead of the race, his push to pass button on 2 occasions towards the end of the race. You're not allowed to do that as a race leader, only if you are behind somebody else. So there was a hearing at 10 o'clock yesterday, discussions were had, and the authorities then gave a subsequent 10-second penalty, the equivalent to a pit lane penalty, to René Rast. That demoted him from 1st to 3rd. So Nico Müller promoted to the race 2 victory. Robin Freins was promoted to 2nd. René Rast dropping to 3rd. That's quite a big effect, as you can imagine, on the championship standings and the advantage that Nico Müller now has. It's also affected the team standings with Abt Sportsline moving ahead of Rosberg on corrected points. So effectively, René Rast lost 10 points and Nico Müller gained 7 points from being promoted to 2nd, from 2nd to 1st. So Nico Müller now arrives here with a healthy 23-point championship lead after just 2 races at Spa. He's got 53 points. Jamie Green has moved up to 2nd on 30. René Rast demoted to 3rd on 29. Robin Freins, 25 points, 4th. Yesterday in the 2 free practice sessions, Nico Müller continued this fine vein of form as well. Fastest times he set in both of the free practice sessions. But as I'll talk about momentarily, BMW were much, much closer than they had been during any of the sessions at Spa-Francorchamps, where Audi definitely had the upper hand. So it was looking promising on both short run pace and, as I'll discuss in a moment, on longer run pace during the free practice sessions. Just firstly, though, to say that this is the first of our 2-part event here at the Lausitzring because of the curtailed season, which is going to be held over just a period of 99 days. We have a number of events this year which run back-to-back at the same venues, the Nürburgring later on in the season, and Zolder as well. But this is the first of 2 back-to-back weekends that we've got here at the Lausitzring. This weekend we're using the shorter version, the sprint layout of the circuit, which was last used 2 years ago in 2017. It's just 3.478 kilometres long. Next weekend, the longer version of the circuit, the Grand Prix version, which is just about a kilometre longer, 4.57 kilometres long, will be used. So teams, drivers, all by and large staying here to the east of Germany here at the Lausitzring, which is celebrating this year its 20th anniversary. It was in 2000 that this was first run as a motorsport venue. It's based on an old coal mine, a huge open pit coal mine, and it was developed as a tri-oval, but with various circuit layouts on the infield, and developed as a tri-oval to use for kart racing, IndyCar racing in the early 2000s, which it did in 2001 and 2003. The circuit that the DTM cars use both this weekend and next weekend will take in part of that tri-oval, and they start on the main start straight, turn off just before you get to the first banked corner of the tri-oval through the infield, but they rejoin coming through the last turn. So 13 turns here around this short circuit. The driver that's got the best record here is the one at the front of your picture there, number 53, Jamie Green, the British driver of the current crop. He has got the most wins here. He's had 3 race victories around the Lausitzring. He also tends to go well in qualifying here, and certainly did so last year. Jamie getting pole position for the second race of the weekend here at the Lausitzring, and he was on the front row for the first race of the weekend here last season as well, albeit on a different layout to the circuit than we're using here this weekend. So Jamie Green will be hoping for a good set of results here. As it stands, the races didn't really work out for him last year, but he has got this good record. Lucas Auer has got another good record here. He got his maiden victory at this circuit in 2016. He's had a couple of wins here in the past as well. So I'll wait for the cars to build up the speed. Let me just tell you about the free practice sessions. Free practice 1, Nico Müller for Audi was quickest, but only by 43 thousandths of a second from Mike Rockenfeller. Sorry, that was free practice 2. And Marco Wittmann at the end of yesterday afternoon was 3rd quickest for BMW. Philipp Eng was 4th quickest, so BMW's 3rd and 4th in yesterday's second free practice session. Jamie Green and Ferdinand Habsburg rounded out the top 6. In the morning session, which was a slightly longer 45-minute free practice session, Nico Müller was again quickest, only by 86 thousandths of a second that time. Ferdinand Habsburg was 2nd in the WRT Audi. Marco Wittmann was 3rd, so the BMW up there again, the former double champion, with Mike Rockenfeller, Jamie Green and Philipp Eng in the top 6. The way it tended to work yesterday in the free practice sessions was that drivers would go out early and go for a single lap qualifying type run, but then spent most of the session concentrating on longer runs to see how the cars, the tyres, the setup hold up around here. There's no big high-speed corners really like you get at Spa, so tyre degradation will be very different. It's more about mechanical grip and traction out of the slower corners than it is about downforce through high-speed turns, but that brings with it its own challenges as well. Now, on the longer run pace, BMWs were right up there, which is very promising for them when we get to the races. So looking at the times, I did a bit of analysis this morning looking at the times from free practice 2, which was held right at the end of yesterday afternoon. Marco Wittmann did a 6-lap run, and his 6-lap average lap time was 1 minute 17.204. Eng's average lap time across 6 laps was 1 minute 17.521. Müller's was 1:17.621, and Rockenfeller's was 1:17.846. So looking at the top 2 Audi and BMW drivers across 6 laps, the BMW drivers were actually slightly quicker. Now, Eng only did a 6-lap run in that second free practice session, whereas Müller did a 12-lap run, Rockenfeller did a 13-lap run. But then I had a look at his first free practice lap times, where he did a long run actually. Marco Wittmann did a 16-lap run at one point in free practice 1, and there he averaged 1 minute 18.271, so slower as you would imagine. But the impressive thing was that his lap times remained consistent throughout the entire run of 16 laps. So Marco Wittmann seems to have the single lap pace. He seems to have good steady pace across a longer run as well. Philipp Eng yesterday, which might be of a slight concern, and they might need to look at the setup. He did a 9-lap run, but his pace really dropped off on the last 2 laps. He dropped a second a lap on the last 2 laps. The tyres really seemed to go off. But for the first 6 laps, it was all pretty consistent. So certainly promising signs for BMW. Looking back from the rear-facing camera very briefly there of Robin Freins at Marco Wittmann. Drivers trying to get themselves some track position here. First slightly competitive lap time that we've seen, and they'll get quicker than this, is a 1 minute 18.958 from Philipp Eng. Robin Friends, who you're watching, had a very good first sector, the best of all. Mike Rockenfeller's had an absolute best in the middle sector, which is the shortest sector. And it's sectors 1 and 3 you've really got to nail to get a quick lap around here. And Sheldon van der Linde's had a very good start to his lap. He's just done the absolute best first sector. So Robin Friends coming through to go top for now. 1 minute 17.187 seconds. Robin having got his maiden pole position at Spa 2 weeks ago for the first race. The race itself went away from him despite a good start to the race, and he only just finished in the points in the end, but he finished third in race 2 and then promoted to second after René Rast's penalty yesterday. Rockenfeller to the top of the times with a 1 minute 15.985 meanwhile. And I think I'm right in saying that's the quickest lap of the weekend so far. Not quite. 1 minute 15.831 for Muller yesterday. That's the fastest lap time of the weekend, though. Sheldon van der Linde, 1 minute 15.685 seconds. He's gone to the top of the times. So the BMW man, the South African, looking good. Rocky's in the 1:15s as well. 1 minute 15.985, 3/10 down, but second quickest. Philip Eng, 1:16.078 is third. Timo Glock crosses the line and goes in between them into second place with a 1 minute 15.837. So the third driver to make it now into the high 1:15s. In fact, there's another because Loic Duval's gone quicker than everybody. 1 minute 15.682. So that's the new benchmark time. That's just 0.003 of a second quicker than van der Linde. Robin Friends was absolute best in the first 2 sectors, a PB in the final sector on his previous run through as well. So he is 7th currently, but it's oh so tight. Muller quickest, 1:15.592 now. So Muller, who's topped all of the sessions so far this weekend and has had 2 race victories now. And actually, Nico, the first driver since Bernd Schneider back in 2006 to win the first 2 races of the season. Bernd going on to take his 5th championship title later that season. That was back when there was only single races per event rather than 2 races per weekend, and he won at Hockenheim here at the Lausitzring. So it's 14 years since somebody won the first 2 races of the season. Muller, 1 minute 15.592 seconds then. He's just 90 thousandths quicker than Loic Duval. You got van der Linde, who's gone into the pits now. He's only 3 thousandths of a second behind Duval and just off the front row of the grid. And then a couple of tenths back, Timo Glock, who's just gone into the pits. 1 minute 15.837. He's 4th quickest. Mike Rockenfeller, 1 minute 15.985 is 5th. Philip Eng, 1:16.078 is 6th. Jamie Green, 1:16.087, just behind him in 7th. And Ferdinand Habsburg's almost as quick at 1:16.099, just 12 thousandths of a second behind Green in 8th place. Robin Friends 9th on a 1:16.2. René Rast hasn't really shone at the top of the times yet in 10th place. He was concentrating on longer runs in the free practice session yesterday, the reigning champion. As you watch Mike Rockenfeller going through with a good lap to go 5th quickest with a time of 1 minute 15.985. Personal best in the first 2 sectors for Rocky. He's never won here. His best result was a 2nd place finish the year he won the championship 2013, but he has had good results at this circuit. A brief flicker of radio.
Wow, yeah. To be honest, it felt quite okay in terms of warm-up. Maybe a little bit the front, and I have some high-speed understeer still.
So pretty satisfied, Nico Muller on the radio there, giving the feedback that a little bit of understeer in the high-speed sector.
Low speed, you still feel fine?
Yeah, a bit of entry instability in turn 8 especially. But yeah, just need to have a rhythm, man. I mean, I was shit coping with the traffic and everything.
That's a proper racing driver, isn't it? Fastest at the moment, still not quite happy though. Apologies for the slightly fruity language, but Nico Muller not quite getting the rhythm. There's more to come, he feels, perhaps from himself, perhaps from the car in high-speed turns, and perhaps in terms of getting away from a bit of the traffic as well. But he's quickest for now at the halfway stage in this session.
1 degree or a bit less?
Just got the back end of that radio transmission with René Rast, but you can guarantee he'll be straight on the data.
It's not massive, it's quite a lot, but I don't know how much.
Yeah, René on the the radio.
Okay, copy. We will drop it by 1.
On the radio to his engineer Florian Rinks, you heard a still not 100% happy Nico Müller on the radio to his engineer, and just saying it, not quite there, but pretty satisfied when he was speaking on the radio to Felix Fechner, his engineer at Team Ab Sportsline. But the big news for Müller is that he's way clear of René Rast, who's not his closest rival in the championship, but
you can carry more speed.
Loic Duval getting a bit of feedback about where he can take a bit more speed, where he's losing out. Philip Luth, his engineer.
Go at the end of the lap. I see. Go at the end of the lap.
Because the track is a living, breathing thing, and even though they went round yesterday and did these long runs, it's slightly different conditions today. More rubber was laid down on the circuit yesterday by the DTM cars and the DTM Trophy cars that are here supporting as well. And the ambient temperature and the track temperature are all different, so whatever setup you run one day doesn't necessarily work the next. So just trying to find these fine margins, but the lap time's impressive with 6 drivers in the 1:15s, particularly Müller with a mid 1:15, 1:15.592, Duval 1:15.682, looking to try and get himself onto pole position at qualifying at Spa. Loic Duval wasn't quite there. 7th is his best qualifying so far. It was race 1 at Spa. Pole position for race 1, as I say, going to Robin Freins last time out at Spa, and René Rast getting the pole for race 2. Jamie Green up there again, admitted after the first qualifying session in the first race at Spa that he needed to find a bit more pace in qualifying. The race pace was very good, and we saw him go from 11th up to 2nd in the first race, which was mighty impressive. A good, strong second race with some positions gained as well. But Jamie didn't qualify all that well. 11th, as I say, for race 1. He only qualified a bit better, 8th for race 2 at Spa. But he's looking good here. 5th at the moment for Jamie Green. But he's about 4/10 away from Nico Müller's time. Robert Kubica there. First time ever for him at the Lausitzring, having just joined the DTM. His best time so far, 1:16.850 seconds. Slightly more helpful.
As I said, we have a problem on display.
We did a 16.8.
Interesting. He's got a problem with his display, so I didn't know what lap time he was doing by the sounds of it. And the thoughtful Robert Kubica, who did less laps than most yesterday, which would not be that helpful. The good thing for the rookies like Robert Kubica this weekend is that they had 2 free practice sessions yesterday, which is a normal format for a race weekend, but at Spa there was only 1. So lots to learn.
And then I did it. So then I did 1 push lap, then I slowed down, and basically then I did it again for my last time lap.
Copy.
Mike Rockenfeller, when he did a longer run yesterday, as we look towards the race later on, did 13 laps run in free practice 2. His pace remained very consistent. He seemed to take his tyres a few more laps to come in than some of the others doing long runs, but the average for his 13 laps, the average pace for his 13 laps was only a few hundredths higher than the average for his first 6, i.e. he didn't really lose any time at all in the second half of that long run. So certainly building towards the longer distance for Rocky. He had a very good start to the season. He said he loved every lap of being back behind the wheel of the car at Spa, the 2013 champion. And he certainly had a good weekend. He had a good weekend at Lausitzring here last year as well, with a couple of podium finishes. And at Spa last weekend, he finished 4th in race 1 and 5th in race 2, so he's 5th in the championship, 22 points, just a few behind Robin Freins as the cars line up, getting ready to go out for this second run. These 2-litre turbocharged cars, which reached, some of them, in excess of 300 kilometres an hour at Spa.
The outlaps and the build laps from Audi were faster, so it should be okay to have them in front. But let's open the gap to be safe.
Yeah, a record broken at Spa when Fabio Scherer became the first driver to break the 300 kilometre an hour mark. Didn't realise he'd done it until the team told him afterwards. Philip Eng and Jonathan Aberdeen did it as well. Philip Eng knew he'd got his eye on the speed. He said, I watched it go from 297, 298, 299. It got to 300, and just after that, I hit the brakes at the end of the Kemmel Straight. But I didn't overshoot the corner, so it was all good. And he said it was the first time I've gone that quick since I tested a Formula 1 car, a BMW Formula 1 car. over 10 years ago. So 302 kilometres an hour. We had over 280 kilometres an hour in free practice here yesterday. The circuit isn't as quick, but still there are points, start-finish line to be precise, where the cars really do get to unleash the near 600 brake horsepower that they have. And that's without the added 60 that they get with the push to pass and the extra sleekness they get when DRS is deployed as well. Right, back out. Sheldon van der Linde going well. He was impressive, I thought, in the first weekend at Spa. One of the strongest BMW drivers. A strong drive to 6th place in race 2, and in qualifying trim he looked very good. He was 5th on the grid for race 1, 4th on the grid for race 2. Just dropped back a bit, as many of them did, with tyre degradation issues and the heat at Spa in race 1. But Sheldon van der Linde looking strong again here this weekend. He's only 0.003 of a second away from being on the front row of the grid here. And Loic Duval is the driver he's got to try and beat if he wants to do that. And have to beat his time rather than match it, because if you match somebody's time to within 0.001 of a second, it's the driver that sets the time first that gets the advantage on the grid. One pole position to his career so far. That was at Zolder last season, Sheldon van der Linde. So he knows how to do it. Nico Muller, the championship leader, now a 6-time race winner in the DTM. He was the first driver to win 2 races in a weekend since the final round of 2018 at Hockenheim, when René Rast almost took the title away from Gary Paffett. What a terrific streak that he had at the end of that season with 6 consecutive race wins. Nico Muller looks to be absolutely full of confidence. By far his best year in the DTM last year, with 2nd place in the championship. His best prior to that had been 9th place. And he really came on leaps and bounds, and I think he's learnt and taken stock from just missing out on the title to René Rast, and I think he's come back even stronger this year. Nico really does look in fine form. And you've got to be on it straight away with this compressed season that we have. There's not really any time to play catch-up. There's not really any time to get the cars back. You know, have a look at them. These back-to-back weekends especially, and over the next 5 weeks we'd have 4 of the race meetings in just 5 weeks. Drivers jostling for position. René Rast finding a way through. Loic Duval dropping back to find some track position as they go for it once again into these final 2 minutes of the session. Can anybody topple Nico Muller? Can he get another pole position here and set himself on the way to perhaps a 3rd consecutive race victory this afternoon? Some other drivers might have something to say about that. Loic Duval and Sheldon van der Linde look most likely to do something about him. There's only 1/10 of a second between the 3 drivers currently. A couple of tenths further back, Timo Glock in 4th place. Jamie Green needs to find 4/10 of a second if he's to challenge for the front row of the grid. And René Rast only 10th at the moment, and 7/10 of a second away from Nico Muller, who's done a personal best in the 2nd sector now. As I say, it's only a short sector, that one. It only takes in effectively 2 turns, turn 6, turn 7, and a bit of the short straights before they get to the next turn. So it's the start and the end of the lap where you've really got to push on. Nico Muller, personal best in that 2nd sector. Is he winding it up maybe, though, for an attack on this lap? It looked like it, didn't it? Marco Wittmann has had personal best in the first 2 laps, but he's outside the top 10 at the moment. Muller goes through with a 1:17.445. I thought so. He backed off in that final sector, but now he's on the attack again. There's Marco Wittmann. Can he get himself up into the top 10? Robin Freins with a 1:15.486 has gone quickest. So Freins, who didn't really set the time in screener lights with absolute best sector times, but a personal best, a very good final sector, squeezes him onto provisional pole position. 1:15.486 seconds. Marco Wittmann, with that lap, went into the top 6, much better. Only 3/10 or so away from the best time of the session. Muller's completed the first sector with a 25.561. It's not bad, it's not absolutely sparkling though. What can René Rast do? Personal best in the first sector. Jonathan Aberdine's got himself into the top 10. It's Freins, Muller, Duval, van der Linde the top 4. Glock in 5th, Wittmann in 6th place. Green 7th. René Rast just gone into 8th place, but still almost half a second away from the absolute best time, which now belongs to Robin Freins. Fabio Scherer, personal best in the first sector, but he's currently 13th quickest. Marco Wittmann started the lap well as well with a personal best in the first sector for him. So we see if the driver that finished third in the championship last year can do it. The flag is out, by the way, and the first driver to take the flag is Sheldon van der Linde. He doesn't improve from 4th place. Nico Muller, 1:15.841. It wasn't a bad lap, but it hasn't improved his position. So it is not going to be pole position for Nico Muller. Where can Marco Wittmann put his BMW as he comes through to complete the lap shortly? He's already into the top 6. He's had personal bests in the first 2 sectors. He's got a clear track ahead of him. Goes from 5th to 6th gear. Sparks fly as he takes the checkered flag to round out his qualifying session, but the last sector just fell away from him a little bit. And so he stays in 6th place, doesn't improve his time. Timo Glock, who's just ahead of him on the grid, has already made his way back into the pits. And that looks like it. So it looks like, having had to wait for quite a long time to get his first pole position in the DTM before he finally got it at Spa, Robin Freins has done it again with pole position here in the first qualifying session of the day. René Rast with an improved 2nd and 3rd sector. 7th place it will be, though, for him. It's a better lap, 1 minute 15.839, but he just misses out. He's only 4 thousandths of a second slower than Wittmann in 6th, and he's only 13 thousandths of a second slower than Glock in 5th.
Hey, happy days. Congrats, guys.
Second pole position then.
Good job, buddy. Good job. Very good drive. Perfect. Good teamwork.
3rd season of DTM for Robin Freins, the former Formula Renault Euro Cup and Formula Renault 3.5 champion, plus GT titles with Blancpain as well. Got his first pole position, having had 37 attempts prior to doing so at Spa. Pole position there, and he's got his second one just 2 weeks later, 1 event later. Pole position number 2 for Robin Freins, who's very much in the hunt for this championship this year. As I said, he's won in everything he's competed in, and now it is starting to look good for the Dutchman with a superb effort there. 1 minute 15.486 seconds. Muller up there again, though, 1 minute 15.592, and Duval 1 minute 15.682. They're the drivers that will take championship points as well. It's 3 points if you qualify on pole, 2 points for qualifying second, and a point for qualifying in 3rd place. So that means Robin Freins is going to move up to 28 points. Will only be a point behind René Rast, still 4th in the championship, but now only a point behind René Rast. Muller is going to pick up an extra point to move to 54, so he's now got a 24-point lead over Jamie Green in the championship. And, 25-point lead. It's 2 points. He goes from 53 to 55, so he's got a race win, effectively, already over the next best placed driver in the championship. 25 points clear of Jamie Green. And Loic Duval picks up a point, and that will tie him now for 5th with Mike Rockenfeller. They'll move to 22 points apiece. So a fine effort there from Robin Freins. It's Nico Muller that dominated in terms of having his name at the top of the timesheets for the free practice sessions, albeit he wasn't that far clear in either of those sessions. Robin Freins, as you can say, you can't always tell what's going on with the setups in free practice, but Robin was only 8th yesterday afternoon in free practice too, and seemed to be concentrating on longer run pace, but he's found the sweet spot, and he's got himself this pole position by a very narrow margin, just about 1/10 of a second. So there you can see the industrial pass to this circuit, this former open coal mine here to the east of Germany. It's about 130 kilometres away from Berlin, and you can see that Robin Freins for Audi Sport Team Abt claims pole position from Nico Muller, Loic Duval, Sheldon van der Linde strong again in 4th, Timo Glock 5th, Marco Wittmann in 6th place, René Rast 7th, Jamie Green in 8th, then Mike Rockenfeller and Jonathan Aberdeen 9th and 10th. 11th, I think that'll be disappointing for Philipp Eng. It was looking good, but I think the race pace is there for Philipp. Ferdinand Habsburg 12th, Fabio Scherer 13th, Lucas Auer 14th, and then Harrison Newey and Robert Kubica, 2 of the rookies this season, 15th and 16th, and only 1.4 seconds covering the entire field in that first qualifying session of the weekend. Race to come here, local time, just after 1:30, the start of the race. We'll have all the build up to that beforehand, of course, on the grids, and catch up with some of the teams and drivers. And then, of course, tomorrow it's a repeat of the format with qualifying tomorrow morning and race 2 tomorrow afternoon. Busy time for Robin Freins. He's already been competing in Formula E this week, from Thursday a week ago to just a couple of days ago. 6 races in Formula E in Berlin, nearby. Robin Freins, René Rast, both getting podiums. Robin with a few podiums in that category, and Nico Muller was also competing. Super slow-mos then of our top 3 in qualifying. Loic Duval, 3rd place, 1 minute 15.682 seconds. And Verena has caught up with him now.
Robin Freins here now. Robin, it's your 2nd pole, so you did a fantastic job there. What's your gut feeling for the race?
First of all, I didn't really expect the pole. I was struggling yesterday quite a bit with the car and with the track. It's not my favorite track, so we did a lot of work yesterday evening to try to improve, as Nico was very quick. So I think we did a really good step forward. As I said, pole didn't expect, but in the race there's quite some less tire deck as we had in Spa. So yeah, let's hope that I just keep my position.
Crossing our fingers. Thank you so much, Robin. Still getting used to the fact that we're kind of shouting across here, but that's part of the safety regulation. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Great to have Verena back with us. And Robin Freins there, the pole sitter, she managed to catch up with, didn't expect pole position. And he feels like he's in a strong position for the race as well. So Loic Duval 3rd, Muller 2nd, Robin Freins 1st. Rockenfeller, not quite such a good qualifying as he had at Spa, but in the top 10 in the Audi, 9th place, 1 minute 15.985. But there were tiny gaps between quite a few drivers in the sessions. You had Glock 5th, Wittmann 6th, Rast 7th, all within 13 thousandths of a second of each other. Green and Rockenfeller were well matched as well, just 42 thousandths of a second between those two, 8th and 9th on the grid. And then Aberdeen and Eng, 10th and 11th on the grid, were split by just 15 thousandths of a second. And actually Habsburg, just behind them in 12th place, was on a very similar time, only 33 thousandths of a second, covering the 3 drivers. So incredibly tight qualifying session that. This, though, is how provisionally they will shape up for the first race of the weekend. Robin Freins and Nico Muller share the front row of the grid. Loic Duval and Sheldon van der Linde start 3rd and 4th. The 3rd row of the grid, Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann. And then just behind the pair of them, we have René Rast starting 7th, Jamie Green 2nd in the championship, starting in 8th place. Mike Rockenfeller and Jonathan Aberdeen complete the top 10. And then just behind them, Philip Eng starting 11th, Ferdinand Habsburg starting 12th. Fabio Scherer and Lucas Auer starting 13th and 14th. And the final row of the grids, Harrison Newey and Robert Kubica will line up for this afternoon's race, 15th and 16th. Back down now, though, to Verena, who's got Nico Muller.
Here I am with Nico Müller, who's starting in P2. And Nico, of course, after Spa, you having won 2 of the races, and you didn't start in pole either. Do you think you will get your 3rd consecutive win today?
I mean, it will be a long race so far. I'm happy with how things are going. It wasn't the smoothest of qualifying sessions. I had quite some traffic on both runs, which was a bit annoying. I think there was definitely a bit of lap time in there. Yeah, a bit frustrated about that, but to be honest, still P2 is very, very good. And to be in the first row together with Robin, he's really nailing it in qualifying this year. He's always there, so looking forward to the race. It will be a long one, a hot one as well today, so tire management again will be key. And so far I'm feeling quite happy in the car, so the feeling going into the race is positive, and just looking forward to go out there and then hopefully score as many points as possible.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Nico. And that was the qualifying, the first qualifying here at the Lausitzring. And I think it looks very promising for a very, very hot and exciting race, which you certainly do not want to miss. So here are the highlights. Enjoy, and we'll see you later for the race. Bye-bye.